everyone, it's Lisa here. This is just a quick tutorial on how to use the Pregnant Portrait Creator and how to create your first character. I'm mainly going to be working in Illustrator, but if there's anything different that needs to be done differently in Photoshop, I'll just hop over to Photoshop and take you through the process there. Okay, so once you've downloaded the product and unzipped the file, you will notice two folders, the Illustrator and Photoshop option. Depending on which software you'll be using, you just need to make sure that you select the correct option for your software. Just a note up front that this is not an app, it's not a software, it's not a plugin. These are files that are created in Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop that have complex layers that just basically allows you to turn things on and off to create your own character. So you don't need to actually install anything, you're just simply going to open the file in your required software. As I mentioned, I'll be working in Adobe Illustrator and I'll be choosing the body shape one to start off with. I already have the file open, so I'm just going to pop over to Adobe Illustrator. Once you have the file open, you'll notice that there is a default character. So from here, you're basically going to just remove items that you don't want by turning layers on and off, or add items that you want instead. I'd recommend starting by choosing your actual skin tone, and you'll find those under the woman and woman holding layers. Depending on whether you want her to be holding accessories, that'll be your arm position that you're going to be choosing, but I'm just going to go with the woman at this stage. So I'm just going to make sure that I've turned on the woman layer. And I'm just going to quickly expand that so that you can see all the skin types. So from here you can decide whether you want the skin type, it goes from pale all the way down to dark. And you can decide which one you want to work with. I'm going to just stick to the skin type 2 for now. The next thing you can do is choose the mouth options. Basically there are two lips that you can choose from, and I'll just quickly show you what I'll zoom in quickly. And I'm just going to choose the lips 2. Stick to that one. Under the eyes layer, you'll notice quite a few eyebrow choices. You can basically just turn on and off whichever one you prefer. There's kind of like thick eyebrows to thin eyebrows, so just choose whichever one you prefer at this point. And you can also choose the eye color from hazel, green or blue. I'm just going to leave those on for now. And then the next thing I recommend is choosing your hair layer. There are actually two hair layers to note. The one you'll see is actually layered underneath all the outfits, and then there's one right at the top that's called hair, which is above the clothing, and that basically falls over the clothing, whatever item she's wearing, especially the long haired layers. You'll see that actually falls over her clothing and her body. I'll just quickly turn this one off and turn that on to show you what I mean. Okay, so that's obviously been placed above everything, and just this is a good time actually to mention that I have obviously placed everything in specific orders for specific reasons. For example, as I mentioned, the hair above. So you are welcome to move layers around, but I do recommend making a copy of your document before you do that, just to preserve the original file. But of course, if you ever do make a blips and you realize that you've actually saved over the template, then I do recommend just re-downloading the zip file again from the place that you purchased this actual item from. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the hair above and go back to the hair layer. So you'll notice under each hair layer there are different hair colors to choose from, and you can just go ahead and choose your preferred color. I think I'm going to stick to black at this point, and I'm going to leave it on the loose braid bun at this point. I think that looks quite cute. And then I'm just going to quickly run through the outfits that you have. Basically what I do recommend is expanding each outfit layer. You can simply just turn items on and off as you go along. That's the quick and easy way to actually create your portrait. But if you'd like to actually modify and edit further, then all you need to do is expand the main layers. And from there you'll notice there are additional options within each layer. For example, with the spaghetti strapped dress, I actually have a striped dress, then I have a black dress and a pattern dress. Of course, all of these items are editable, and you can change the color of the dress or add your own pattern, and I'll show you how to do that later on. but let's just stick to the stripy dress. The other thing I want to mention is that I definitely recommend experimenting with the different outfits in combination with each other. For example, you could add a denim jacket to this, even though it doesn't fall under the spaghetti dress layer. You can add that as, you know, as additional item. Or perhaps you want to add boots instead of the actual little sandals that we've got here. So I'm just going to turn the sandals off. And for example, there are boots under the winter coat and jeans layer. So I'm going to turn that on. And obviously I don't want all these other items. I just want the boots. So I'm going to turn everything else off and keep the boots. And now you have the boots with the actual dress. And let's turn that denim jacket on, so there you've got an outfit that basically comprises of 3 different folders, but you've actually created a whole new outfit look. Okay, so let's just turn that off and turn the little pumps on. And then just the other items that I wanted to show you, I have a hand on a tummy, which is perfect for this particular body shape. And again, if you expand that layer, just make sure that you choose the skin type that corresponds with the actual main skin type that you chose originally. And then there's an accessory layer, which is quite fun. There are things like sunglasses and normal reading glasses. I've got some headscarves and turbans. Let me just show you how that looks. Okay, so just a note with the woolly hat, the turban, the headscarf, and the wide brim hat. You'll notice that it looks a little odd now with the hair that's actually still on. So you would just need to go ahead and turn the hair layer off, because what I've done is within each of those, I've added hair layers for you to actually rather, you know, use within that, because basically they have to fit under the hat. And, you know, using the hair from the other layers, they won't basically fit. So just to show you how that works, you have a choice of just showing a little bit of hair in the, you know, coming through the top. Let's just actually turn on the winter coat to make it look a little bit more authentic. I'm going to just do that. And if you want kind of mid-length hair, you just turn the mid-length hair on. And again, within each one, you'll see that there are, you know, hair colors to choose from. And if you have a character that has longer hair, you can just choose the long hair option. And the same goes for the wide brim hat. Here I've got short hair, straight hair, you know, kind of short straight hair. Let me just turn that off. Curly short hair, long hair, and curly long hair. And that basically allows you to still have the hair showing underneath the hat, and everything fits snug under the actual item. I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off. And the same thing applies for a headscarf. Here, all those items are optional. Perhaps you don't want to show any hair, and you maybe don't want to show the underscarf, so you can just turn those items off. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the hair layer. And now I'm going to show you the woman holding option. I'm going to actually choose skin type 4. And now you'll notice that we left the hand on tummy layer on, which we obviously don't want for this. So I'm going to turn that off. And now you'll see that the actual clothing items don't fit. So this is where you need to make sure that you've chosen the correct one. So if you expand each layer, you'll see I've actually named anything that has a long sleeve that needs to actually show up. You'll notice that it actually is there under each layer. So you'll see the long coat, for example, actually has another layer called long coat holding arm. So that's the one we need. That's perfect. And then I have some accessories you can use for the holding arm, which is right at the top. I'm going to turn that on. And if I expand that, you'll see there's a baby onesie, there's a girl one and a boy one, depending on which one you want to choose. Turn that off. There's some cute flowers that you could be holding, a coffee mug, a shopping bag, or just a normal handbag, and a balloon for fun. To change the color of an item in Adobe Illustrator, you're just going to expand the clothing layer, and then expand the actual clothing item that you want to change. In this case, it's the tan maxi dress. So I'm just going to expand that. And then using the direct select tool, which you'll find on the extreme far right, it's that little circly thing that you see there, you're just going to simply select that, and you'll see it'll automatically select everything on that layer, which is just the dress that we want to change. And then come over to your swatches panel and then pick your new color. In this case, I'm going to choose a dark blue. And now I also want to change the color of the belt, so I'm going to go back to my layers panel, and you'll see I've got a belt layer over here, so I'm just going to go ahead and select that. Go back to my swatches panel and choose a new color. In this case, I think I'll just choose pink. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Okay, now I'm going to quickly show you how to apply a pattern in Adobe Illustrator. So once you have your pattern swatch document open, you're just simply going to select the pattern that you want to use. In this case, I'm actually going to stick to yellow because I want to match the balloon. So I'm going to use this sort of textured yellow pattern on the side here. I'm going to select it and then copy, which is edit, copy, and come back over to my character document. And then I'm just simply going to paste it anywhere. And what that's going to do automatically is add it to my swatches library. You'll see it over here. I don't need that anymore, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And now I want to actually add that particular pattern to her dress. So I'm going to come over to my layers panel, and I'm going to expand the summer dress, which is the actual outfit that we're on, and I'm going to expand the actual dress layer. And again, you'll notice that each item is well marked, so you're just going to go ahead and choose the item that you want to change, which in this case is the dress. And I'm going to come over to my swatches panel and actually select that new pattern that we just brought in. And that's it. If I actually wanted to scale that pattern, all I need to do is come back to the layers panel and select it again. And then we're going to head over to Object, Transform, and Scale. Make sure that you have your preview on so you can see what's going on. And in this particular case, I want to enlarge the pattern. So I'm going to hit 150 on my keyboard. And then you'll notice that it might, depending on what you have actually selected at the bottom, it might automatically enlarge the entire object. In this particular case, we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to make sure that I don't have transform objects selected and that I do have transform pattern selected. Now Adobe has a weird thing that I've come across. Sometimes this works straight off and sometimes it doesn't. You'll notice that now it hasn't applied any enlargement at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. I'm going to deselect, select again, and do that whole process again. Transform, scale, and now you'll see it actually has applied what we just did, 150%. We don't want the object to transform, we only want the pattern to transform, and I'm going to hit OK. To change the color of an item in Photoshop, you're just going to expand the main outfit layer and then the actual outfit itself. You basically want to expand each folder until you find the item that you want to change. So in this case, I want to actually change the color of the main areas of this dress. So I'm going to expand both the bottom and the top layers. And I'm going to start with the top half. So I'm just going to click on top half, come down to my FX in the layers panel, and then choose color overlay. This might take a while because the document's quite large. And then you'll see a pop-up menu that looks something like this. And what it'll do is automatically use the last color that you had in your panel. So I want to change that. I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to choose kind of like a mustardy color because I love mustard. I'm just going to move that over a bit. Probably something like that. And I'm going to hit OK. You'll notice that it automatically created a effects layer. This is great because you can revert back anytime by just clicking off the eyeball icon. So I'm going to do the same with the bottom half. I'm going to select that layer, come down to FX, choose color overlay, and it'll obviously use the last color that I had, which is the yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now I want to actually apply a pattern, a different pattern to the dress trim. So here I'm going to select the pattern trim layer and come over to File and Open, because now I want to actually open the new pattern that I want to use. And I'm going to find my actual document that I'm after. So in the Photoshop file, you'll see an extras folder. So I'm just going to expand that. And patterns, you can use either the 12 by 12 or A3, it doesn't really matter. And I think I'm going to go for a flower pattern and the yellow one, which is that one. Okay, then I'm going to select all, which is your select menu all, and I'm copying it, which is edit, copy, come over to my actual document that I'm working on, and then I'm going to make a selection of this layer. Under select, load selection, and that's the one I want, to make sure that it's on the actual correct channel, which is pattern trim. That's correct. And if you can remember, we actually have the pattern on the clipboard, so all I need to do now is edit, paste special, paste into, and from here you'll see that it automatically pasted within that selection that we created. If you'd like to resize the actual pattern, if you want to scale it down or up, you're just going to come over to edit, free transform, and you'll see these corners will appear. We're just going to bring it down, hold down your shift key while you're doing that, so everything scales proportionately, and that looks about right. I'm going to hit enter and it'll apply the actual scale. And you can go ahead and do the same with the pattern trim for the top of her dress. It's exactly the same process, and I'm just going to quickly do that for you. Remember, we still have the actual pattern in our clipboard. I'm going to go ahead and choose select, load, pattern trim transparency is correct that we want. Make sure that the actual layer did load, and we come over to edit, paste special, paste into, and you'll see it's created a new layer there automatically. And remember, we want to scale it down, so we're going to go to edit, free transform, holding down a shift key, bringing it down, that looks about right, and hit enter. And in this case, you'll notice that the buttons are quite light and they don't show up on the pattern, so I'm just going to go ahead and change the button color. So selecting the buttons, come down to FX, color overlay, and probably choose a brownie-ish color, something like that, and hit OK. And that's it. That's as simple as it is in Photoshop. If you're new to Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop and you're not completely familiar with the layers panel, I recommend that you have a look at the PDF files that are included in your download files. I basically take you through each of the important elements of the layers panel for both Photoshop and Illustrator. And then I also have other tutorials that will show you how to change the hair color in Photoshop that you can find on my website at www.lisaglance.com. And that's it. I hope you found this useful, and I hope you have fun creating your pregnant portraits. Happy creating!